Long ago, on the dark side of a forgotten moon, the Galactic Council built a prison unlike any other. It was called the Vault of Staris. The vault had no windows, no signals, and no way in or out. Even the Council itself forgot what was hidden inside. They said it held the worst kind of monster. Something ancient. Something that was not supposed to exist anymore. For centuries, the vault stayed silent. No movement, no energy, just dead rock and old warnings written in dying languages. Until today. It started with a signal. Just one beep, quiet, weak, almost like a heartbeat. Admiral Rethan of the Varnak fleet stared at the screen, his 4 eyes narrowing. "Is this a joke?" he asked. The technician shook his head. "No, sir. The signal is real. It's coming from Staris." Rethan stood in silence. No one had spoken that name in hundreds of years. He remembered the stories. Forbidden history. A vault built for something the Council didn't want to kill because they were too afraid it might survive even that. "Get the Council on the line," Rethan said. Now. Across the galaxy, the Council met in secret chambers made of crystal and metal. Representatives from every species gathered, faces cold and worried. "The Vault of Staris is active," said Councillor Vil. "After 600 years of silence, something inside is alive." Councillor Drin, a reptilian elder, hissed. "We sealed that place for a reason." "And we forgot the reason," another added. "We were told never to open it, not to go near it." But now, something inside is calling. The room grew colder. "What if it's just a malfunction?" someone asked. Then the lights flickered. Across all Council systems, every planet, every ship. A simple message appeared on every screen, in a language most Council races had forgotten. It read, "We are still here. A scout ship was sent to Staris." The crew was nervous, even though their captain, Jorah, laughed off the fear. "It's just an old rock with some old tech," she said. "Ghost stories don't scare me." They landed near the vault. It was massive. Black stone and metal, fused together like bones and armor. No visible door, no openings. Then something changed. A crack appeared. Thin, slow, like a wound bleeding light. The door opened. Jorah stepped forward, her hand on her blaster. Her crew followed, lights shining into the dark. Inside, the air was still, cold, empty. But something was watching. The walls of the vault were covered in carvings. Not alien symbols, not Council languages, but English. "What is this?" one of the engineers asked. "It looks like human writing," another voice whispered from the shadows. "It is." The crew turned. Lights flicked. A figure stood just beyond the glow, tall, armored, silent. Its helmet reflected their fear. Then it spoke. "Where is Earth?" Back on the Council's main planet, panic spread. News of the human contact reached them too fast. Too impossible. "Humans are extinct," Councillor Vil shouted. "We erased them. We made sure their planet was destroyed. But now, the vault had opened, and humans were inside. The problem wasn't just that they survived, it was how they had changed. Jorah's scout team was missing. Only one message came back, just 5 words. They were never gone. Evolved. That message was followed by a file, a photo. It showed hundreds, no, thousands, of human figures walking through massive halls inside the vault. Some wore suits of strange metal, others were shadows, but all of them were looking at the camera. None were smiling. The Council held another emergency meeting. "We need to shut the vault again," one said. "Too late," said another. "They've already walked out." On outer colonies, strange ships appeared, black, smooth, moving without engines. Doors opened without sound, and humans stepped through. Not in anger, not in war, just watching. One by one, old records were unlocked. files that were meant to stay buried. The truth came out. 600 years ago, the Council found early humans exploring deep space. They feared what they saw: fast progress, dangerous thinking, unpredictable evolution. So they attacked, wiped out Earth's colonies, destroyed Earth itself, or so they thought. But they didn't kill all of them. They kept some, locked them in, the vault of Cytheris, as an experiment, as a warning. Now the experiment had ended, and the warning had become real. Admiral Rethan watched the stars from his ship's bridge. Reports came in. More vaults were opening. More humans were appearing. "They don't fight," he said. "They don't speak much. But everywhere they go, things stop working. Ships, systems, even thoughts. The humans were doing something, changing things. But no one knew how or why." Rethan stared at one last report. A new vault, not on a moon, but inside a council city, and the door had opened. As the part ends, a council soldier walks through an underground tunnel in the capital. He was sent to secure the ancient part of the city. He finds a door, not in any record, carved into it, 2 words: "We remember." The door opens, and a single human steps through, eyes glowing with cold light. "You should have let us die." The human whispers. "Now we walk through every door you tried to close." The vault of Cytheris was not the only one. After the first vault opened, scanners across the galaxy picked up more signals, quiet pulses hidden beneath moons, asteroids, and even inside planets. All of them were opening. All of them held humans. But these weren't the humans the Council remembered. They were different, stronger, smarter, stranger, and they remembered everything. Captain Liarn of the Velkar Watch had always believed in logic. To her, humans were extinct, just a file in old records. But now she stood at the edge of a dig site, on the frozen moon of Grask, staring at a vault identical to the one on Cytheris. Her team of scientists and soldiers were scared. "I thought the humans were gone," one whispered. Liarn shook her head. The Council lied. They didn't kill them. They buried them. The vault's door opened. No force, no sound, just cold air and movement. Inside, it was quiet. Metal walls stretched into darkness. Lights flickered, dim blue orbs floating in the air, responding to their presence. A hallway led to a wide chamber, and in that chamber stood 1,000 pods, glass chambers, all filled with people, humans. Some were asleep, others had open eyes. One of them stepped forward. His eyes glowed faint white. His skin was pale, but his body looked strong, like it had been rebuilt for survival. He didn't speak. He simply looked at Liarn, then smiled. Not kindly, not with joy, but with recognition. "Who are you?" Liarn asked. The man tilted his head. His voice was quiet, but sharp. "Forgotten, but not dead." Liarn raised her weapon. The man didn't flinch. In fact, his skin began to change, small metal lines crawling over it like armor. "You were prisoners," Liarn said. "The Council sealed you here." The man smiled wider. "No, they tested us, and we adapted." Back on the Council world of Jera Prime, panic spread. Each vault that opened showed the same thing. Humans had survived, not just physically, but mentally. They had built something inside: technology, networks, new biology. Time had moved. Differently in the vaults. Slower for some, faster for others. One race. 10,000 paths of evolution. All inside boxes meant to keep them forgotten, but the doors had opened, and now they were waking up. A report reached Counselor Vil. It was a secret message from a scientist who once studied human biology. His face was pale, his voice shook. They changed time, he said. Inside the vaults, the humans manipulated time. They've lived for thousands of years in isolation. While we thought they were gone, they were evolving, rebuilding, planning. The message ended with one line. They don't want war. They want justice. On the moon of Grask, Captain Lyarn's team was surrounded. More humans were waking up, stepping out of the pods, silent and calm. One of them walked straight to her. A woman with silver eyes. She handed Lyarn a small black cube. It pulsed with a soft light. "What is this?" Lyarn asked. "Proof," the woman said. "Play it." The cube lit up and played a memory. It showed Earth, blue oceans, green forests, white clouds, then council ships attacking, cities burning, people screaming. Earth didn't fall from war. It was erased by order of the Galactic Council, and that order was signed by the ancestors of those who now ruled. Lyarn watched in horror. The woman's voice echoed beside her. "You erased our world. You thought we'd die in darkness. Instead, we became something else." The vault rumbled. A passage opened, one that led far deeper. Lyarn followed, unable to stop herself. Down below, the walls were lined with strange machines, part human, part alien, part unknown. They pulsed with power. In the center, a map. It showed the galaxy. Dots glowing where other vaults were, and then lines connecting them. A network. A plan. "You turned us into prisoners," the silver-eyed woman said. "So we turned your prisons into weapons." Back on Jera Prime, Council fleets were mobilizing. But every time they reached a vault, the same thing happened. Weapons failed. Engines stopped. Pilots heard voices in their minds. "You put us in the dark. Now you live in our shadow." The humans didn't strike first. They didn't destroy planets or burn cities. They just appeared. On council stations, inside government buildings, in places with no doors, just silent, watching, remembering. At the council meeting, a debate exploded. "We must attack. We must make peace. They are too powerful. They want revenge. No, they want justice." And as the shouting grew louder, the lights flickered. A single figure appeared in the center of the room. A human. No weapon. No armor. Just a stare. "We are the forgotten," he said. "And we remember everything." Outside, more ships arrived. Human ships. Black, jagged, alive, not built, grown, and from every vault across the galaxy, the humans walked out. They didn't scream. They didn't shout. They simply stepped into the light, and the galaxy realized the doors were never meant to keep humans in. They were meant to keep the rest of the galaxy safe. The galaxy was no longer quiet. After the vaults opened, strange events began happening across the outer systems. Ships disappeared, space stations went silent, and everywhere, people started hearing things, not loud voices. Just whispers, soft, cold, human. Commander Alrin of the Xanar Patrol was deep in Sector 9, an area full of old mining stations and abandoned ships. He and his crew were investigating the sudden silence of Delta Station 17. They expected pirates. They found nothing. No bodies, no blood. Just machines turned off, lights flickering, and a sentence written across the command wall, burned into the metal. "We are awake." Lieutenant Tress, the ship's comms officer, called out. "Sir, I'm hearing something. A signal." "Play it," Alrin said. She did. It was a voice. Faint. Human. "You buried us, but we remember your names." Alrin froze. "Shut it down," he ordered. But the whisper continued. Now not just through speakers, but inside their heads. Across nearby systems, other crews experienced the same thing. Whispers, cold feelings, visions of ruined Earth and burning skies. One pilot screamed during a jump through hyperspace. He said he saw a giant human face outside the ship, eyes full of light and rage. He went silent after that. Wouldn't speak, wouldn't blink. He only repeated one phrase. "They're already here." On the council capitol, panic turned into fear. Councillor Ville reviewed hundreds of reports. She noticed something strange. These incidents were not random. They followed a pattern, a circle, and in the center of that circle was the heart of the council. She realized what it meant. The humans were surrounding them, quietly, completely. At the same time, a young Zarthi student on a distant science outpost began hearing whispers in his dreams. At first, he thought he was going mad, but then he started writing things, symbols, codes, coordinates, all in English. His teacher reported it. But the council never responded, because by then, that station had already vanished. Back in Sector 9, Commander Alrin and his crew tried to leave Delta Station 17, but the docking bay doors wouldn't open. The system was offline. No power. No override. Alrin pounded the door, frustrated. Then, he heard a soft voice behind him, not through speakers, right behind him. "You locked the doors once. Now feel what it's like." He turned. No one was there, just shadows moving in the corners, shadows shaped like people. In another system, a cargo ship came across a drifting council vessel. They docked and explored. Again, no crew, just eerie silence. But on the bridge, they found something horrifying. Every monitor displayed one image, a map of the galaxy, every vault marked in red, and underneath, one line. "You forgot us. We did not forget you." Admiral Rethen, now head of Council Defense, called for full lockdown of all border systems. No one was allowed to approach the vaults. No ships allowed into uncharted zones. No signals sent, but it was too late. The whispers had already spread. They were not traveling through space. They were inside minds. Even in the deepest places of the Council, people started to hear them, soft voices, memories that weren't theirs, nightmares that felt real. The humans weren't just walking through doors. They were walking through thought, through memory, through fear. Some believed they had gained psychic abilities. Others thought they had merged with something beyond technology. The truth was worse. They had spent centuries in isolation, and in that time, they learned how to speak without sound, how to move without motion, how to haunt without dying. Counselor Drin, one of the oldest members, locked himself in his chambers. He had a dream of a human child standing in fire, holding a burnt council flag. When he woke up, the flag was on his desk, burnt, just like the dream. He screamed, then disappeared. The only thing left behind was a message carved into the wall. Every door opens eventually. On a desert moon, an old vault suddenly activated without contact. A group of researchers sent a drone inside. It streamed for exactly 17 seconds. In that short time, it showed humans standing in total silence, surrounded by moving machines that seemed alive. One of the humans looked directly at the drone and whispered, "Come closer." Then the feed cut. The drone melted. The council finally realized the truth. This was not war. Not yet. This was psychological invasion. The humans weren't attacking the body. They were infecting the mind. In dark corners of the galaxy, people began following the whispers, believing them, loyal to them, forming secret groups. The council called it the Whisper Plague. But it wasn't a disease. It was remembrance. It was guilt, it was a message, and the message was always the same. We are still human, but we are not what you remember. We do not forget. We do not forgive. Commander Alrin finally gets the docking doors open. He and his team rush to their ship, but when they reach the control deck, they see something that stops. Them cold. One of their own crew is already there, but his eyes are glowing. He turns around, smiles, and says softly, "They're inside now." The vaults were open. The whispers had begun. And now, the humans were gathering. They didn't speak to the council. They didn't send threats. They just arrived, one system at a time. In the beginning, there were only a few strange ships. Now there were thousands, no flags, no markings. Just dark shapes moving silently through space, circling council territory like hunters waiting for the prey to stop running. High above the frozen world of Arvos, Admiral Rethan stood aboard the dreadnought Kalinar. From the observation deck, he could see them. 20 human ships, massive, silent, blocking the jump routes. "Why don't they attack?" his officer asked. Rethan didn't answer. He didn't know. The humans didn't fire weapons. They didn't give commands. They just stared. Council systems across the galaxy were now on high alert. Cities prepared for war. Fleets were activated. New weapons tested. But fear was spreading faster than fire. Because every time someone looked at those human ships, they felt watched. Not by machines, by eyes. Old eyes. On the forest planet, Jael locals reported seeing human shapes walking through trees, then disappearing into thin air. No sound, no footprints, just shadows. Children began drawing them, figures with glowing white eyes and bodies made of glass and steel. When asked who told them, they all gave the same answer. They come in our dreams. The council called an emergency meeting. What do they want? Someone asked. They're gathering. For war? No. For something worse. In the heart of the Auran Nebula, a patrol ship made first direct contact. The crew received a transmission. No video, just a voice. Human, calm. You erased. Earth. You called it necessary. Now we gather to remind you what was buried. When the captain tried to reply, he found he couldn't speak. His voice was gone. The entire crew stared at him, terrified. All of them had lost their voices. Meanwhile, across the outer rim, deep space stations began shutting down. No explosions. No damage. Just silence. One by one, lights faded. Then came the signal. Each station sent the same message before going dark. They are standing at the door. Captain Liarn, who had once stepped into the vault on Grask, now led a secret task force. She had seen the humans up close. She had heard them whisper. Now she stood inside a council war room, facing holograms of panicking officers. "They're not fighting us," she said. "They're surrounding us." A commander snapped back. "Then why haven't they attacked?" Liarn looked straight at him. "Because they don't need to." Later that night, Liarn reviewed data from across the galaxy. Patterns began to form. Human. Ships weren't gathering randomly. They were forming a net, a wall, a trap. Every major exit point of council space was now under silent human observation. On the council's central world, Jera Prime, civilians looked up at the night sky. There were no stars, just black shapes, a fleet, so large it covered the sky like a curtain. People screamed. Not because they were being attacked, but because nothing was moving, not a single ship. They were waiting. On a mining colony near the edge of the Hayari Belt, workers discovered an old tunnel leading to a strange underground structure. Inside, they found a chair, a human chair, and in front of it, a screen. It turned on by itself. It showed Earth, green, blue, beautiful. Then it showed fire, death, destruction, council ships bombing cities, children running. Screams. Then one sentence appeared. "You called it peace. We remember it as fire." That night the miners vanished. No sound, no signs of struggle. Only the screen remained, now showing one final message. "You took our sky. Now we take yours." Admiral Rethan finally ordered his fleet to fire warning shots at the human formation outside Arvos. The missiles left their launch bays. They flew straight, fast. Then they stopped, not destroyed, not deflected, stopped, in mid-space, hanging, still. Then they turned around, slowly, aiming back at the dreadnought. Rethan panicked. "Shut them down!" he shouted. Too late. The missiles didn't explode. They vanished, turned to dust. And from the human ships, a signal came. "We've learned what you feared. We've become what you tried to erase." Back on Jera Prime, Counselor Vil sat in her dark chamber, staring at a map of the galaxy. Red lights surrounded them, each light a human presence, each one growing. She finally whispered, "We're not preparing for war. We're standing inside a funeral." A voice answered her, not her assistant, not her guards. A voice inside her mind. "Correct," it said. "Your funeral began the day you erased Earth." Delta Station 17 was once a quiet mining outpost in the outer rim of Council space. Just a few workers, some old tech, and dusty storage rooms. Nothing special, nothing important. That's why no one noticed when it went silent. No alarms, no explosions, just gone. And that's why Rescue Team Gamma 12 was sent. Captain Myra Voss didn't believe in ghost stories. She believed in facts. Delta 17 was off the grid. Her job, find out why. She took a small team, 4 soldiers, 1 engineer. They boarded a fast shuttle and headed to the station. As they approached, everything seemed normal. No damage, no signs of attack. But the lights inside were dim, and the docking bay was already open. Who opened it? Her second-in-command, Rek, asked. Myra didn't answer. She didn't like it. They stepped inside, guns ready, lights on. The halls were empty, too empty. No workers, no voices, no body heat. But something was still here. The walls pulsed, just slightly, as if the metal itself was breathing. In the command center, the power was down. Screens were shattered, chairs tipped over, and in the center of the room, one word burned into the floor. "Remember." Private Aylin found a data pad in a locker. He opened it. The final log said, "They came through the walls. We thought we were safe. They didn't scream. They didn't run. They just walked in." And we started to remember things that weren't ours. The log ended with static. Suddenly, the engineer, Tovan, screamed. Everyone rushed over. He was staring at a storage room wall. On it, someone had drawn symbols, not in ink, in blood, but the most terrifying part. The symbols were human numbers, dates. Each date matched the day a council world had fallen silent. The final date? Tomorrow. They moved deeper into the station. In the mess. Hall, food trays were still on tables, chairs still in place, like everyone had just stood up and left. On the far wall, a message. "They didn't kill us, they made us see." Myra checked the crew logs. Delta 17 had 25 workers. All gone. No blood, no damage, just missing. But in the sleeping quarters, something waited. Each bed had been burned with a mark. 3 lines and a circle. The symbol was ancient. Human. Private. Rek turned pale. He held up a piece of cloth from under one of the beds. It was a child's blanket. Not council issue. Not alien. Earth style. Old. Faded. "How did this get here?" he whispered. They all looked at each other. Delta 17 was supposed to be a mining station. Why was there Earth tech here? In the reactor room, the lights were flickering. Suddenly, the walls changed. No longer solid metal. Now, flesh-like, breathing, moving. A shadow stepped forward. Not fast, not loud, just present. It was a human, or at least it looked like one. Its face was hidden behind a mask of bone and glass. Its voice echoed in their heads. "You stole our skies. You used our hands to build your empire. Now we take back what was ours." The team fired. Bullets. Plasma. Nothing hit. The figure walked backward into the wall and vanished. The metal sealed shut behind it. Tovan, the engineer, began shaking. He fell to his knees. "I remember," he whispered. "What?" Myra asked, stepping toward him. "I remember the vault. The fire, the screaming. I was there. I wasn't born yet. But I remember. His eyes turned pale. His voice changed. They put us underground. They fed us their lies. But we grew inside them. Then he collapsed. Private Aylin yelled from the comms room. They rushed in. The screens were turning on by themselves, playing old Earth news footage, wars, bombings. Then, the Council's declaration, humanity is a threat to peace. Their world will be erased. Myra stepped back in horror. This was proof. The Council had lied. They hadn't protected the galaxy. They had silenced Earth. Suddenly, the power surged. All doors locked. The walls began to change again, metal turning soft, moving. From the speakers, a voice. You tried to bury your mistake. But now, it remembers you. The team fought their way back to the docking bay. Only one message was sent out before contact was lost. It read, Delta 17 is not empty. Delta 17 is watching, and it remembers Earth. Back at Council HQ, Admiral Rethan read the message. He dropped the data pad. Then, another transmission came through, unauthorized, a single image. The station, covered in vines. Not plants. Tech, growing, pulsing, alive. And walking among them, humans. No weapons, no fear, just waiting. It was supposed to stay buried. That was the deal. The Council would lock the past away, erase Earth from every map, and promise never to open the doors again. But they broke that promise. Now the doors were opening on their own, and something was stepping through. On the Council homeworld of Jera Prime, deep beneath the surface, there was a hidden archive, a forbidden place. Sealed centuries ago, its entrance was made of black metal and guarded by an ancient AI, one that had not spoken in 400 years. Until now. Accessing Earth-classified files, the AI whispered, waking up. Vault system breach detected. Humanity is active. Counselor Vile stared in shock. This shouldn't be possible, she said. But it was. The vaults weren't just prisons. They were part of a system, a network, and the humans had turned it back on. Meanwhile, on a remote desert planet called Theraxa, archaeologists found a strange structure buried under the sand. At first, they thought it was an old ship. But when they powered it up, something strange happened. The sky turned red. The air began to vibrate. And a door, perfectly human in shape, rose from the ground. One of the workers touched it and vanished, just like that, gone. Back on Jera Prime, Council scientists unlocked the Earth-classified archives for the first time in centuries. What they saw made their blood run cold. Earth hadn't been destroyed because it was dangerous. It had been destroyed because it was too advanced. Humans had discovered something. Something the Council didn't understand. Something they feared. Not just weapons, not ships, but dimensional keys. A way to access places outside time, outside space. A way to walk through doors that were never meant to exist. The Council had tried to steal the technology, failed, panicked, so they bombed Earth, killed billions, and erased the truth. But now the truth was walking back. One door at a time. Captain Lyarn, who had seen the vaults herself, was sent to a facility called Core 9. It was where the Council had stored captured Earth tech. No one had opened it in 500 years. Lyarn entered the main chamber with her team. What she found inside was not broken metal or forgotten machines. It was a living doorway. It pulsed like a heart. It shimmered with strange light. And behind it, voices. Human voices, calling her name. "Shut it down," an officer screamed. But the doorway grew larger, more stable. Then a figure walked through. Human, tall, calm, unarmed. He looked at Lyarn, not with anger, with recognition. "You opened the wrong door," he said, "but it's too late to close it now." In orbit above Zera Prime, strange readings appeared on every sensor. Gravity waves, energy pulses, and then doors, hundreds of them, floating in space, all shaped like ancient Earth architecture, some wooden, some steel, some glowing, and through them came ships. Not warships, world ships, living vessels, some shaped like planets, some like creatures, all human, all silent, all watching. The Council called an emergency lockdown, all doors sealed, all systems cut. But it didn't matter. The doors were not locked by keys. They were not built with walls. They were ideas, and humanity had learned how to walk through ideas. Across the galaxy, strange things began happening. People saw doors appear in the middle of streets. Children vanished, only to return speaking Earth languages they'd never learned. Machines began singing old human songs, and everywhere the same phrase echoed, spoken by voices, screens, and even thoughts. "We are what you buried. We are what you feared. We are what you opened." On a Council moon base, a scientist named Alok found a sealed capsule marked Earth Class a Threat. It was still glowing, still warm. He opened it. Inside, a cube, pulsing with light. He touched it, screamed, then smiled. He looked around and said in perfect English, "They're not just walking through doors. They're becoming the doors," Admiral Rethan ordered. The full evacuation of key systems, but wherever his ships fled, the humans were already there. Not attacking, just waiting. The message was clear. The galaxy wasn't big enough to run anymore. Back at Core 9, Captain Lyarn stood in front of the pulsing doorway. She saw something no one else could. Behind that door, Earth, not broken, not dead, rebuilt, alive, massive, a new Earth, floating in a place outside time, and around it, millions of humans, not with weapons, but with memories. Memories of fire, memories of betrayal, memories of doors being slammed shut. Now, they were all open. The galaxy had never seen war like this. Because this war didn't start with weapons. It started with reflections. After the doors opened, strange things began to happen on every Council world. Mirrors cracked without reason. Screens showed shadows that weren't there. And some people began to see themselves, but not quite. On the research station Krenith 4, Dr. Halvek ran tests on one of the Earth origin cubes. He looked into its surface and froze. The cube showed him, but in a place he'd never been. He was standing on Earth, laughing, wearing a human uniform. Then the cube spoke in his voice. "This is the version of you we saved." Across the stars, the mirror war had begun. It was not a war of bullets. It was a war of identity. Ships vanished without battle. Entire planets reported people acting strangely, like copies of themselves, but colder, smarter, more human. Council leaders didn't understand, but the humans did. They had created mirror echoes, perfect duplicates from possible versions, of beings the Council had tried to erase. These echoes now walked among the galaxy's people, watching, whispering, waiting. In a hidden chamber beneath the Zera capital, Councilor Vile met her own mirror. It looked like her, sounded like her. But this version had joined Earth centuries ago. The mirror Vil said one sentence before vanishing. "You erased us from history. Now we rewrite you into ours." Captain Lyarn, stationed at Core 9, was called to investigate strange behavior in her own crew. One soldier, Private Thren, had stopped eating. He stood in front of the mirror for hours, whispering. When Lyarn confronted him, he turned with empty eyes. "I remember Earth," he said. "I never should have forgotten." Then he disappeared, through the mirror itself. At first, the Council believed it was a psychological weapon. Then they realized the truth. Humanity was not fighting for land or power. They were fighting for perception. If they could make the galaxy question its own identity, they wouldn't need to fight at all. In the capital of Raloth Prime, the mirror effect spread fast. Half the population began acting differently, smarter, more organized, more connected. Without violence, they shut down every military system, every data center. When council guards stormed the city, they found buildings empty. Only mirrors remained. Each mirror showed a message. We are your reflection. You made us by turning away. Meanwhile, deep in uncharted space, the council fleet finally found it. New Earth. It was real. A planet floating in a gravity bubble, impossible to enter. But they tried. Admiral Rethan sent 3 cruisers into orbit. None returned. Only a signal did, a voice, soft and calm. This is Earth. We are not angry. But we will not let you lie. Anymore. Counselor Veal demanded a counterattack. But the AI advisors warned her. You are not fighting ships. You are fighting ideas. And ideas cannot be destroyed. Back on Core 9, Captain Liarn discovered something terrifying. The mirror echoes were not copies. They were survivors, humans who had been downloaded into other species before Earth fell. Their memories had awakened when the doors opened. Now they were everywhere, and they were calling others to join them. Some council soldiers began switching sides, not out of fear, but because they saw truth in the human cause. One soldier, Jarek, whispered, "When I looked in the mirror, I saw someone better. I saw someone free." Then came the final stage of the mirror war. Earth didn't invade planets. They merged with them. A strange fog rolled across cities containing nanodust, memory triggers, and sound waves only humans could control. Where the fog passed, reality bent. Signs changed languages. Council statues turned to human shapes. And people began dreaming of a blue planet, even if they'd never seen it. The council was falling apart, not by force, but by belief. The galaxy no longer feared Earth. It began to remember it. Captain Liarn received a final transmission from the doorway at Core 9. A child's voice, soft, familiar. "Do you know why we walk through mirrors?" it asked. "Because no matter what they say about us, we always knew who we were." And as Liarn looked into the glowing doorway again, she saw herself but smiling, at peace, standing on Earth waiting. The Great Galactic Council had stood for over 10,000 years. It survived wars, rebellions, and even black hole crises. But it had never faced this. It had never faced a war of memory. And now, it was cracking. The Mirror War had not used fleets. No bomb had fallen. No weapon had fired. But entire governments were falling apart. On Jera 9, senators walked out of Parliament, claiming their other selves had shown them the truth. On Varnax, high priests of the Order of Purity burned their own temples, chanting, "We erased Earth, and they remember everything." Inside the main chamber of the Galactic Council, 12 species sat in silence. Screens around them showed every collapse. Entire cities waking up with knowledge of human history. Council archives rewritten by unknown hands. Children speaking. English in their sleep, even on worlds where it was never taught. Counselor Ville slammed her hand on the table. "This is madness," she shouted. "They are infecting our minds." The AI advisor calmly responded, "No, they are restoring what was stolen." Others began to whisper. Counselor Tell from the Solari leaned forward. "I dreamed of Earth last night," he said softly. "I was there. I remember the ocean, the wind, the way humans laughed." His voice shook. "I've never even seen a human. That's when it happened. The doors to the council chamber opened, not with force, not with sound, just a soft hiss, and then silence. A single human walked in, dressed in black, no weapons, no fear. She stopped in the center of the room and looked at them all. "I am Mira," she said. "I am not here to fight. I am here to remind you." Security rushed toward her, only to stop mid-run. They froze, eyes wide. Each one saw something different in her face. One saw a sister he'd forgotten. Another saw a friend lost in childhood. A third saw himself, if he'd been raised on Earth. Mira raised her hand, and the room dimmed. The walls turned into screens, and a vision began to play. Not of war, but of what really happened. Thousands of years ago, the Council discovered Earth. Not as a threat, but as a mirror. Humans could learn too fast, adapt too well, create bonds too deep. The Council feared Earth would unite the galaxy, not divide it. So they erased it, not just the planet, but the idea of Earth. They wiped memories. They rewrote history. They took Earth's children and hid them in other species, changing. DNA changing records, but not the soul. Mira's voice echoed in the chamber. "You tried to bury us in the stars." "But even buried seeds grow," Counselor Vil shouted. "You manipulated us!" Mira didn't answer with anger. She simply said, "We offered peace when we walked through the doors. You responded with fear, and now your people remember." Outside, the chamber, something impossible was happening. On every planet, in every city, people were walking through glowing doorways. Some emerged different, smarter, stronger, human, and more. These weren't invaders. They were awakened, echoes of what the galaxy once tried to forget. In the chamber, Counselor Vil collapsed into her seat. "Then it's over," she whispered. "We've already lost." Mira stepped forward. "No," she said. "This isn't the end. It's the correction." Screens lit up with scenes of planets healing, machines working in harmony with nature. Species once divided, now united under a shared memory. Humanity was never the enemy. They were the connection. Counselor Tell stood. Slowly, the others did, too. "What happens now?" he asked. Mira smiled. "You remember us. Now we help you remember yourselves." As she turned to leave, the doors opened once more. 1,000 humans stood waiting beyond them, and among them, beings from every species, smiling, welcoming. The Council was not destroyed, but it would never be the same again, because now truth sat in its chamber, and truth had a human face. They thought it was over. After Mira stood in the Council chamber and revealed the truth, after the Council lowered its defenses, after the doors opened, the galaxy thought the war was done. But the real horror had only just begun. Not all had accepted the truth. Not all had welcomed the humans. In the deep void between stars, something still stirred. Something ancient. Something angry. And it carried the original infection, not human memory, but the fear that started it all. On the forgotten moon of Zeltar 3, scientists made a discovery. A sealed vault, older than the Council, older than memory. Inside it, they found bones, human bones. But they were wrong. They weren't just human. Dr. Yarrow, a xenobiologist, scanned the remains. "These are mixed," she whispered. "Human and something else. Something we can't trace." The DNA patterns pulsed strangely under the microscope. They moved. They adapted. Her assistant leaned closer. "They're alive!" Before she could answer, the screen cracked. Blood spilled from the microscope. The bones bled. Across the galaxy, others like her began to feel it too. Headaches, visions, waking dreams of being other people, on Earth, on a version of Earth that never existed. The Council received a signal. Not a distress call, a pulse, 4 short tones, then silence, 4 again, then silence. No one knew what it meant, but the humans did. Mira listened to the pulse with closed eyes. When it finished, she whispered just 2 words. It remembered. She gathered the awakened and told them the truth. What the council feared was never just our minds, she said. It was our blood. We were designed to remember. They tried to erase us, but they forgot one thing. Memory is not in the mind alone. It lives in the blood, and blood calls back what was taken. Then the first echo appeared. Not human, not alien, a fusion, a creature that remembered every erased life at once. It walked on 2 legs, but its face constantly changed. Eyes turned from blue to black to golden. Its voice echoed in every language. It arrived at the galactic medical hub without warning. It didn't kill. It didn't scream. It stood, and every patient on that level stopped moving. They all looked at the echo and said, in perfect unison, "We remember." Panic spread. Worlds locked down again. The word echo became a new fear. News channels asked, "Are they human? Are they weapons? Are they the next evolution?" Mira knew the truth. They were memories made flesh. The more the galaxy remembered, the more echoes would awaken. Not born, not created, but reformed from the DNA altered long ago by the Council's purge. The Council begged Mira for answers. "How do we stop them?" Counselor Ville cried. Mira answered calmly, "You can't stop memory. You can't stop what was done. You can only choose, fear it or join it." Some chose to resist. They formed the Coalition of Clean Thought, vowing to destroy all echoes. They believed the echoes were corruptions. But they were wrong. The echoes were mirrors. When you looked at one, you didn't see a stranger. You saw the version of yourself that wasn't erased. One echo reached the ruins of Earth. It stood among the broken cities, closed its eyes, and the land around it began to breathe. Grass grew, skies cleared. Lights returned to buried towers. Earth remembered itself. Mira stood beside the echo and placed her hand on its shoulder. She whispered, "You are not alone. We are the blood. We are the return." In the stars, a new signal began. Not 4 pulses, but 12. One for each species that erased humanity. Each pulse unlocked a part of their own hidden memories. Not of war, but of kinship. Because in the beginning, they were not afraid of humans. They were afraid of seeing themselves in humans. Now the echoes walked openly. On some worlds they were welcomed, on others, hunted. But no matter where they went, they activated what lay hidden in the blood of others. They were reminders, and reminders don't stay silent. The galaxy was no longer silent. It pulsed with something new, a heartbeat. Every planet, every outpost, every species felt it. It wasn't war, it was memory. Waking up. On the edge of the Council's space, a world named Atheron 9 suddenly changed. Its plants started growing in spiral patterns, patterns only seen in ancient Earth art. Children, born of other species, began dreaming of places they had never been. Names started appearing in their drawings, human names. The echoes didn't speak, they simply walked. And wherever they stepped, the past returned. Old ruins stood tall again. Destroyed worlds lit up. Extinct languages were spoken again, because now the blood of the galaxy remembered what the mind had forgotten. The Council was finished. Most of its members had either joined the echoes or been silenced by the truth. Only a few still resisted. Among them was High Chancellor Varn, the last voice calling for the destruction of the infection. He broadcast a message. "This is your final warning. Destroy the echoes, or lose your species to them. They are not memory, they are invasion." But no one believed him anymore. His own people had started changing. Even he started seeing things, shadows of himself walking through Earth's forests. In his sleep, he spoke old Earth words he never learned. He was changing. Mira stood atop the mountain city of Varaxis. Echoes surrounded her, shifting forms, walking silently, watching the stars. A young alien girl, part Terrari, asked Mira, "Why are they always looking up?" Mira smiled gently. "Because they remember something we forgot," she said. "That we didn't come from the ground, we came from the stars, and now the stars remember us too." Across the galaxy, ancient machines began to power on. Relics, buried in time, built by forgotten hands. Each one played the same message. The blood remembers. The cycle begins again. No one could stop it, because the echoes weren't destroying the galaxy. They were healing it. A grand echo, the size of a starship, appeared above the dead world of Kolshar. It didn't attack. It hovered. And the planet turned green again. Rivers flowed, air cleared, life restarted, and with it came the memory of what life used to be. The coalition of clean thought, the last anti-echo army, made one final stand. They gathered on a world called Vexar Prime, building weapons to kill memory. But memory can't be killed. The echoes didn't fight. They stood in silence, and one by one, the soldiers dropped their guns. They remembered. They saw flashes of themselves as other people, from other lifetimes, on other worlds, with human faces. Mira gave one final speech, broadcast through the old galactic channels. "You erased us from your books. You silenced us from your history. You even feared our minds. But we are not here for revenge. We are here because you called us. You didn't destroy us. You hid us, in your DNA, in your machines, in your silence. But memory is like a seed. Even in the dark, it grows." Then something impossible happened. A wormhole opened, where nothing should exist. A message came through, not from humans. Not from echoes, but from those who made the first humans. They had been watching, and now they spoke. "You have remembered. Now it is time to return. Come home." The echoes turned toward the wormhole. So did Mira. So did all those who had changed. Their blood had brought back the past. Now it was taking them forward. One by one, they walked through the light. Some cried. Some smiled. None looked back, because they weren't leaving the galaxy behind. They were leading it somewhere new. And as the last echo disappeared into the light, a child on a distant world whispered in their sleep, "We are not the end. We are the beginning, remembered."